Hello and welcome to the Enterprise Talk Conversation Series, a peer knowledge resource by the CXOs for the CXOs. Now to our host, Kanika Goswami.
Hi, everybody. We welcome you to our podcast On Stage with Enterprise Thought Leaders. My name is Kanika Goswami, and I'm the managing editor of On Media's 6 B2B enterprise technology publications. We have engaging conversations with global thought leaders and industry experts on a very regular basis, and most of them reach between a million and 1.3 million business leaders globally. Today, we have with us yet another global business leader, Mr. Kalyan Kumar. He is the Global Chief Technology Officer and Head of Ecosystems at HCL Tech. Welcome to the show, KK. I'm looking forward to an interesting conversation with you.
Thank you, Kanika, for having me, and looking forward to this interaction.
It's a pleasure. So, a few lines, literally a few lines about KK, and then we'll invite him to say something about HCL Tech, which we may not be able to pick up from other sources. So, KK co-leads HCL Software as a Chief Product Officer. He's also the Global CTO and Head Ecosystems at HCL Tech, as I just said. So, as a Chief Product Officer of HCL Software, he leads product strategy, product specialists and technical advisors, professional services, product management, engineering, and operations for the business. He's a member of the Wall Street Journal, CIO Network, the CNBC Technology Executive Council, and a fellow of the British Computer Society. And he's also a part of WEF, Global Future Council for Quantum Computing. KK was named one of the top 100 technology leaders in the Technology magazine. He serves on the board of 2 startups and a mid-sized technology company in the hybrid data analytics domains. He has also co-authored 8 books spanning the domains of service management, XaaS, and cloud native and process reengineering. That's a lot of work for 20 years, KK. How did you just manage all of that?
I think, to be in all honesty, forget about the writing the book part. The book writing was always a co-author with a very distinguished fellow within HCL. I think we did that to sometimes vent out, or sometimes we believe that the world needs to know. The intent was never to be an author, but the intent was to more to share. I think that was one. Oh, I think it's not much. There are people who have done far more than this. I would say it's a journey, and the whole journey within HCL at various phases within HCL as an enterprise, starting from the way when I came into HCL ComNet, and at the way it evolved into HCL Tech, and then and now the core HCL Tech, and then HCL Software. It's been a journey, continuously curious, and it's a learning process.
Yes, and I have not even completed the entire bio. I think I'll drop it here, which is about your activities with the children in UK where you live, their interest in cricket, and a whole lot of other social activities. But today we are speaking to the technologist, so we will stick with that. So before I ask you the questions, KK, can you tell us a little bit about what HCL does, HCL Tech does today, and what are the plans for the next couple of years, if you can?
HCL Tech is a global technology solutions and a software company. We are one of the first India headquartered, uh, India origin garage startup, which really started in 76 by a bunch of entrepreneurs who really believed, and with Shiv and the team together, he really created HCL in various avatars and role, and across different fractals and evolution of how the company worked. Core HCL Tech, we are in 4 key businesses. One is digital. How do we help customers transform and be digital? So one is looking digital, other is being digital, both across business, employees, customers, and also things. The second is engineering, which is basically, that's our heritage of the company, the DNA, the core, building products, building solutions, building systems, writing or engineering products for the global 1,000 largest R&D spenders. And that's a very, very important pivot of how the DNA of the company. The third thing is cloud. Very, very core. It evolved from the evolution of what we did with infrastructure and operations, and that's the other side. So if you really ask me, the 2 core piece of the origins of HCL Tech has been engineering and infrastructure, which is now morphed to engineering and cloud. And the fourth is AI, which is about how do you infuse AI into this. So digital engineering, cloud, and AI. That's HCL Tech at its core. HCL Tech also has an independent software division as an ISV, which is HCL Software, which really builds products and solutions delivering across 4 different clouds in a ubiquitous cloud delivered model. But the presence of HCL Software is in about 132 countries with over 20,000 customers, whereas the core HCL Tech services, we've got digital engineering, cloud, and AI. We address the top G2000 market, so very focused. So I think 2 different spectrums. So we are a technology engineering services company, but also have an independent software division as an ISV.
That's interesting. And the most interesting is that is all began in India. Mr. Shiv Nadar, right?
Yep.
So one of the best known entrepreneurs in technology in India in those days, 70s and 80s. So I'm really proud to have you here. Really proud to say that it's an international MNC. It's an MNC which originated in India. So good.
And we are the Asia's largest software company.
Oh, that's even better.
Yeah,
So
software products company. India's largest and Asia's largest software
Asia's
products
largest.
company. So I think that's another very interesting uniqueness which we have.
Yes, boss. Very admirable there. So, you were speaking about your the four branches on which HCL Tech works on. So we'll start the question on cloud computing. What do you think is the role of cloud technologies in addressing business challenges today, which include security concerns, talent gaps, and company culture, not just data or infrastructure or software?
See, cloud, the way you should start to look at cloud, when if you roll the clock back, when cloud computing really started off and really became pooling of resources, self-service, easy to consume, elastic, that was the core principles of cloud computing. There are a lot of questions: why cloud, what cloud, how cloud. There's so many evolutions happens. Today, it's really about how cloud and how to really deploy cloud in the most pragmatic way or in a smarter way. I think that's what we really see. Cloud is no more, it's like table stakes. It's like you cannot have a conversation without cloud in the center. Now, there are different deployment models on cloud because of various aspects. You have public cloud, which is what every one of us knows about with the large hyperscalers like let's of AWS, Microsoft, and Google. Uh, then you have private cloud, which is becoming more this thing, which is a private infrastructure or private utility, which you're seeing with Dell and other providers creating utility capability of infrastructure utility and platform utilities you can consume. Then there is telco cloud, telcos are creating clouds, and there is edge, which is expanding. Then there is this other dimension of sovereign clouds, correct? We're seeing this becoming very, very critical as countries and regulated industries are wanting to create clouds which are more within a defined boundary for various data protection and this thing. Even India now has a Data Protection Act, which is mirroring on top of what, expanding on top of what EU had with GDPR and other aspects. So I think it's a continuously evolution place. The cloud is the core. So I think cloud native, cloud technologies are becoming the foundational. It is very hard to find a startup today which exists, which is not built on cloud, correct? So I think the cloud is essential. It's the core. You get scale, you get security protection at a more wider spectrum. So the attack spectrum surface becomes quite wider if you're on the cloud. It also bridges talent gap effectively. There's 2 aspects. One is you need a lot of new skills, but also cloud can abstract a lot of technology needs. So you can actually build on top of rather than worrying about a lot of those other aspects. And also it changes the way company consumes from a cultural standpoint. So there is a culture of cloud nativity also. How you think cloud native and cloud first or cloud smart in the way you would adopt and deploy. So I think cloud is becoming the foundation. You cannot build anything today, whether you want to do digital, you want to engineer solutions, you want to do AI, you want to deploy software as an ISV, cloud is becoming the fabric.
So, which then leads to the next question, and it's not really a question, more of an observation. Um, why are adoption and Gen AI integration no longer just the domain of an IT department and the responsibility of the CIO? Because it is going across teams, going across functionalities. Clearly, it is not just a technology that is being used, it's the way the company is working, right? So, to what extent are businesses and non technology stakeholders putting more skin in the game and driving conversations, demanding more solutions using the cloud? You are in the business, so, best person to ask.
if you really look at the foundation, see, cloud is a technology foundation. It's also the business foundation, gives you an operating model, ability to start building capabilities on top of cloud. Now, if you really go and unravel Gen AI, or I would say AI in holistic Gen AI is one type of AI capability. That's not the only one. There are so many different AI techniques which exist today. Uh, you apply them. You apply them on metrics. You apply them on logs. You apply them on actual data. Obviously, you can apply them on text, code, images, and be able to extract more information. That's why generative AI, when you take deep neural networks and natural language processing and combine them together, you really start to see some of the generative capabilities on AI. But the underpinning piece to this is data engineering. So you need the adoption of cloud or Gen AI integration. The reason you said it's no longer just the domain, the question was purely because it's a business technology decision. It is no more just an IT decision. A lot of these capabilities are because the data is typically driven and managed by the business. They want to extract better insights and value from the data. So they want to understand the data. They want to be able to build models which can predict some insights, give them some directional guidance, give them some vectoring, or then start to generate insights or generate engagement. So all those different aspects. So hence data is so essential. Where you can get data is you cloudify your data, you deploy your data in a hybrid data world. It could be public, private, wherever it exists in the edge. There's a lot of data gravity which is happening because data is everywhere. As we are having this conversation, this data getting generated. There's data in every part of the aspect. So how do you make sure you're able to engineer the data so that you could create a data pipeline, you'll be able to see them together. Now, to do all these pieces, IT is just a single piece in the whole puzzle. Today, more and more technology decisions are being embedded into the business. So we call it business technology or operations technology. Line of business has more ability to make decisions on e-commerce, e-business, marketing stack, customer service, aftermarket, how to build new applications, low code, no code. And then you want to leverage the fabric available on cloud and AI. And that's why it's not just an IT decision, it's a line of business involved. In some cases, it's a completely line of business driven, when it is a product centric operating model, or in some cases, it's like a combined delivered model. So, hence, that's why you're seeing this shift. Before IT was enabling the business, today, in many cases, IT is the business for many of the customers. So, I think that's the big difference you see.
And especially after the famous digital transformation phase, you can't do without it. That's the base of all the business that you have to run across all departments and across all teams. So yeah. So also the other way, the converse way is that the CIO is no longer just a technology leader. He's also a business leader because what he does actually drives a business.
Yep, absolutely. I
Mhm.
think, and you see the role of CIO is also morphing, correct?
Yes.
In many
Yes.
companies, you have IT decision making in the business, and some cases you have a chief digital officer, or in some cases you have a chief data officer, you have chief technology officer. I think more and more companies, as they're moving towards a product platform operating model, a lot of product capabilities in the line of business, but someone is owning the platform, enterprise wide platform, and that's where role of the CIO is morphing. There's no one size fits all. In the days back, you used to have a role of a CIO. I think go by industry, go by customers, go by at the transformation journey they are in. The role of the CIO is completely different, and that's the reason business technologists are the future, correct? People who understand business and technology, that's the
Yeah.
real future. So that contextualization is very important.
Yes, correct. And there are so many overlaps in any case. So the chief data officer overlaps with the CMO and the CIO and the CTO, and there's a whole Venn diagram out there of the C-suite, which there's so many
Yep.
overlaps there. So while businesses realize that the cloud is becoming a necessity, why do so many still have a long way to go? Why are they not fully adopted it? Why are they still unsure on how to prioritize moving data and applications into the cloud? Do you face this challenge when you approach the market? And if you do, then how do you mitigate it? How do you convince them?
So I always I refer back to a very old quote which I heard many decades back from a wise man. He said, God made world in 7 days because he had no installed base. So I think even the creator of
Yeah.
the planet or the universe had they seen the complexity of the IT tangled web which we have created, he would have stopped, paused, and decided, is this what I'm... And the reason I'm putting you this is, you go back and you just roll the clock back. What we call today the modern age or the era pretty much started around 1500s, the mercantile age, when people were trying to travel, whether kingdoms, which are kingdoms in the west or kingdoms in east. Even if you go and read the Indian history, the seafaringness of the Chola kingdom, or that was seafaringness, correct? That led the mercantile age.
Right.
And then
Industry 1.0.
navigation techniques and other things came up. People discovered the quest for curiosity, the quest for unknown was. Then you started to get into the industrial age. And from industrial age, you move to the information age. But when you start with the information age, you see the rate of change. From the time a modern computer, I think to be in really the current way, when Charles Babbage or Sir Alan Turing, when they started to really put together computing stack in late 20s, 30s, or Lady Ada Lovelace, who wrote the first programming language, to now, the rate at which the tech adoption has happened, correct? You look at the technology stack, people just adopted technology, and by the time they rolled out something, new stuff came in, and people added. You can say, I've shoved dirt under the carpet, or people just didn't have time, that the web became tangled. You had systems, businesses evolved, you acquired businesses. So it became a significant tangled web. And as the expansion happened, you went to the internet age, went to the digital age, you connected, IoT. Now you look at an enterprise, everything is connected, correct? Within the enterprise, outside the enterprise, lines between IT, BT, and OT is getting blurred. Now, what does it mean? Is two things have happened in the industry. One, I would think that sometimes collectively as an industry, we've not valued what we owned sometimes. So there is a lot of, I would say, mindless application modernization or mindless technology modernization rather than mindful value extraction. You've invested something. There's a reason you took that decision. And as you build those systems, there is a significant amount of data which you have generated. There is data and insights. Many times you might not like the UI, the user experience, the way you would connect. But the core process, the system, the data, that insight still is significantly valuable because you've coded your business at different shapes and forms. So rather than just modernizing for the sake of modernization, one has to start to look at what value I can extract on what I've invested. What do I need to change a little bit to make sure that I'm able to continue to extract value, so that you just don't want to throw things just for the sake of throwing things. Because then by the time you modernize and get to the current state, the cheese has moved. And so that's what this whole concept which we have called continuous modernization is. You start to look at modernizing continuously, but you don't have to modernize the same thing. You have to reimagine the way you modernize. So hence one spectrum of the modernization is value extraction. Can you extract value on what you have? And the second is, how do I build new applications? I build new applications in a new way, in a different way, and connect what you have and what you build new. So hence what's the reason the speed is adoption is not happening is because of this, because you have significant install base, businesses run on those systems, and customers are not able to extract the best value. So as they continue to modernize their applications, they need to make sure that they're able to extract good or value from what they've invested and value on what you're building. And I see this across, because we have a very interesting perspective as HCL, as an engineering services company, because we're in the midst of helping companies build new products or modernize their existing products, take their products to cloud. And also as a software vendor, as an independent software provider, we have software products which are 35 years in existence, or one of our application low-code development platform has been in existence for 35 years, has 7 million applications. And we are in the modernization journey. What we're realizing is that customers want to extract value on what they've invested and build new. So how do you connect these two together? Same thing, whether you are building software, whether you're operating software, or whether you are developing custom code, you need to try to bridge this. And that's why customer prioritization needs to think through how do I do this in the right way? When do I take a decision to stop modernizing but focus on value extraction and then go and build new something? So that's the big shift which the industry needs to happen, and that's the reason you see the adoption rate. And obviously, with the current market dynamics, a little bit customers are a little bit thinking through this whole phase. Hey, just should I just go and mindlessly go and do that, or should I just hold back and rethink how I really want to apply this? So that's where we are in the industry.
So when HCL Tech goes out in the market, what do you tell them? What is your talking point?
In HCL Tech, we have this overarching theme from a cloud standpoint. We call it Cloud Smart, correct? And the reason we use the word cloud, people talk cloud first, cloud native, all this. The reason we brought the Cloud Smart theme was, how do you use, sometimes I think the very important sense when you want to make decisions is common sense. Correct? I think you just take basic common sense, look at things in a pragmatic way, realize what is the right thing to do for the right treatment. Because as companies expand, they become global, they become distributed, they have different business construct, business structures. You need to have a cloud strategy which mirrors your business strategy, correct? Which is about, so there is no business strategy without a cloud strategy, and there is no cloud strategy without a network strategy. But underpinning everything is your core data strategy, because your data gravity is completely getting spread across the enterprise. So what we do is that we use this theme called Cloud Smart. Go and work with the customer in figuring out what is the right treatment you want to apply for cloud. Where do you want to completely migrate to cloud, modernize to cloud, extract value from the cloud, deploy it in a hybrid environment, start looking at edge and all those aspects. So that's what we're really doing, is how do you use the Cloud Smart approach to really help the client make a pragmatic decision in the journey to cloud. And again, we believe cloud is not a destination, it's a journey. It's a journey, and as you keep evolving the journey, you might have multiple destinations you might have to encounter and move into it.
Correct. That is right. So what do you think are the emerging business trends that are being created by the adoption of cloud by most organizations?
So if you look at, we keep publishing this tech trend which we have, correct? And we talk about
Yes.
big tech trends which we see in adoption. So I think the first thing is what we call as ubiquitous distributed cloud,
Yeah.
which effectively means the cloud is ubiquitous and distributed, and it will continue to be. And that is really leading to a few other things. That on the other spectrum is this whole adoption of network evolution of 5G, 6 and 5G and beyond. The access to fiber broadband and other capabilities is becoming like table stakes now. Now, if you see in some of our developing, a lot of the new nations, I think the eastward nations, hey, look at the broadband infrastructure, it's just significantly improved. Now you've got ubiquitous distributed cloud, and you've got access, ubiquitous access, and anywhere access. So what has that really exploded is a few things, correct? That is really allowing you to create limitless experiences on top. Reimagine the way you do cyber, because if your entire business is rewired on digital, you're no more worried about physical security. It's about how do you secure this whole new digital business. I think new experiences, new way to consume applications and this pieces, and the current piece around generative AI or just AI is because there's so much data getting generated. There is no way possible to even make sense of what's being generated and what do you want to do. So how do you start making sense of data? So because the rate at which the data is getting created, you need systems. Humans are not designed to read and analyze data. They are good at doing insights from the patterns which systems are detecting. So I think that's where the emerging of a lot of technology is happening. New experiences. Now, if you see the latest experiences thing is, people talked about metaverse and VR and others. Now the most simplest interface is chat. I want to have a conversation, correct? Can I type something and get a response? Why do I need to code? I think there's a lot of things which is going through. And I think, and that's where I think both AI for improving productivity, AI for improving effectiveness versus AI for automating mundane tasks, or AI for improving experiences is going to become very, very important.
That's where you're going. And my next question was, what does the future of the cloud look like to you? So, when do you think all applications processes, or at least most of the applications processes and tools, will be entirely on the cloud? That's a wishful kind of a that's a wishful kind of a thinking. But one question just occurred when you just mentioned artificial intelligence. A big part of the future it's going to be, and coupled with the cloud, I think the possibilities are limitless, right? So how do you foresee, what do you foresee happening there? Let's go into the sci-fi realm for a bit.
Yeah, I think I would look at cloud just like this switch, a plug point, a utility. The way cloud is going to, you will not see cloud. Cloud is going to be woven everywhere. It's like the equivalent of, now the different deployment models of cloud, you will see them in a very different way. But
Mm.
cloud will become like, just like electricity, right? You will not
Yes. Yes.
question a lot about electricity. Yeah, now this green electricity, where is it getting generated, how efficient this thing, the transmission efficiency of electricity. Similarly, cloud is going to become
Yeah.
so
And
foundational.
if I may interrupt here, aren't we already almost there? Almost all our financial transactions, almost all our communications.
Yes
You
and no.
check
See,
your
I think
Gmail, you're on the cloud.
yeah,
So
yes and no. There are two sides to this, correct? There is a consumer side of the whole world. You as a consumer, you as an individual. There is a lot of you and your footprint in the cloud or in the internet or in the social world, correct? That social media and other aspects. Then there's enterprises, correct? And enterprises have a lot of systems and data which needs to be deployed in a controlled cloud environment, in a secure cloud environment. And then there is this whole wild public world out there, correct? Which is the public web. So I think consumer is already on the cloud. Consumers are completely cloud native. Consumers have more access to generative. So today the new benchmark is: are you as good as consumer tech? You're no more like, are you? Is enterprise tech no more the benchmark? It's consumer technologies. So I think consumers are leading the way. They are defining how the technology consumption happens. Obviously, there is a lot of aspects on unknowns like data privacy, PII, PHI, data, GDPR, sort of things in terms of there is a lot of aspects which needs, and which is where I think you see the role of government and regulatory bodies to be able to define on the consumer side.
yeah.
On the enterprise, in the journey, more and more customers are saying that I need capability or functionality. They're not asking, see, the cloud conversation is no more, okay, which cloud I'll deploy. They're going asking a provider, this is my cloud strategy. Can I consume more applications based on my cloud strategy, or would you deliver it to me over a cloud which I can connect? And I think as processes and applications and data and all those pieces starts to get wired into the cloud model, you'll start to realize that customers will spin up their own private hybrid cloud environments. They're going to consume a sizable amount of applications over SaaS or cloud native deployments. There will be distributed cloud, there will be edge, there will be so many different aspects. So orchestrating, so the role of the CTO of the future or the CIO of the future is going to be: how do you orchestrate, manage identity, govern, allow data engineering and ability to connect those pieces together and orchestrate different parts of your landscape. So I think that's where we are in. So I think your sci-fi future is you don't discuss cloud at all. I think you'll reach a point in time that cloud is ubiquitous and
Everywhere.
yes, that could be the end goal. Exactly what you're talking about. Cloud is a means to end. Cloud is not an end. Many times
Mm.
cloud gives you a means to get to a destination. It's not the end destination.
Right. Right. And that is coming, I think, very soon. It's not very far away, isn't it? The way things are going.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. I think
Yeah.
it's in the vicinity, but there's still some miles to go.
Right. So, what are the cloud optimization strategies that IT decision makers should embrace, in your opinion? Because you're in the market, you're meeting them, you're talking to them, you're understanding their challenges, you're understanding the strengths that you can provide. So, what is it in the form of a strategy that they can put? Also, can businesses optimize the cloud expenditure when they are adopting it? I know there is SaaS and PaaS and LaaS and all other as a services available. So how do you then best optimize this expenditure, and um, how do you take it forward at HCL Tech?
So if you look at optimization, before optimization, one has to really figure out the consumption strategy. How do you want to consume? What is the design? So traditionally, we budgeted IT in a very capex, capital oriented. The whole shift to the cloud model, as I said, cloud is a technical model, an operating model, but also a commercial model, the way you consume. So you are moving away from owning capex, owning capacity, buying perpetual licenses, to moving towards term subscription licensing, moving towards utility model of consumption. Obviously, you will have some level of planning and insight of how much you want to consume. So there's a shift in the way you account and model things. That's one. Then you start to look at how best can I consume and then optimize this. I would really feel that a few things has to be taken in IT decision makers. Do not look at cloud as an extension just to the data center. Okay, look at cloud as a new way to consume, which means you you're getting to a standardized architecture, which means you have to make your applications run on the standardized architecture. That's definitely one. Correct. Cloud is the app picks the cloud. The cloud doesn't pick the app. Correct. It's the other way. The second piece is you'll always have this distributed deployment model as you look at the whole enterprise. So you need to really figure out, would I do public cloud extended to private, or should I do hybrid private to public? Or do I want to create edge strategies which are being enabled by the cloud provider, or do I want to build my own edge? There are so many different architectural decisions. The third thing is you have to bring a discipline of what we call as FinOps. The whole aspect of FinOps is because as you shift away from capital based fixed expenditure outlay model to more consumption based, it's like, can you use an Ola or Uber and just make them wait or not leverage them? The meter keeps running, correct? So can you, because that kind of a model, because they are very easy to consume and access, but then if you don't have the right financial this thing, when do I need to use pure utility versus when do I need to do leasing? When do I need to take upfront this thing? When I need to buy a car, lease a car, rent a car, all those pieces, correct? Equivalent of that, you need to start to relook at the whole expense part. So hence the discipline of FinOps, service integration, governance, this is going to become very, very important, I think, from a customer standpoint. And one of the things is that the decision making of technology is now getting pushed down across to the business and to the developers and to the cloud engineers. So that financial awareness and discipline has to go all across the stack. What do I do if I write code in this way, if I deploy the application in this way, if I use the service in this way? What's the economic impact? So I think that's the big shift which people need to go through in terms of looking at from a cloud standpoint. It's just a whole shift in the mindset.
You're right. So we have been, KK, discussing just about the cloud and the way forward and the way backward and the way laterally or whatever else. Have we missed any other technology which is going to be driving enterprise in the next year, maybe? Because you cannot predict about the decade, it's too far. So maybe 2024. I know AI is there, but there's already so much talk of generative AI and conversational AI and 300 different types
I
of AI.
think I would say a very core essential thing is what I call as data engineering. Correct.
Hmm.
You need to manage your data pipeline if you really
Hmm.
need to build and orchestrate intelligent applications. That's going to be very, very important because data is the foundation for AI. Data combined with compute, the
Correct.
cyclical aspect help you drive better AI.
Okay.
Second thing is this thing, especially on Gen AI, it's about asking the right question. A
Yeah.
lot to do with prompting, prompt engineering, prompt design is going to be extremely, extremely important. Correct. So I think
Hmm.
that's going to be second very important piece. Third is this whole piece around responsible AI. See, because if you're going to start to deploy something, having, because now you're using AI to make decisions which are beyond, which are impacting so many different aspects of people's lives and other aspects of the responsible AI, security around that is going to be extremely important. Correct. I also think that's going to be the most important piece. And then the fourth and very, very important thing in 2024 is going to be around sustainability. Correct. Of whatever you're doing, there's a lot of mad rush around spending on technology, but again, what's the impact of that? Where real value, real use, which is going to be a very, very important thing. So you're going to see that whole piece mm, becoming a very, very interesting piece. And if you look at even in the AI world, what's happening in the last few days, you're seeing that there is a lot of things which are evolving, uncertainty. There is a lot of push and pull, the bigger aspects, correct? You saw uh, regulations being thought upon. It's going to be, there is an uncertainty, but then there is also a certainty. So I think that's a whole bridge of trying to move around is going to be important. One technology which I think, and it's out there in the decade, which I am personally really intrigued and really enamored, and more also had an opportunity to work on this, is quantum computing. I think the reason for that is there are so many problems in this world. I think world planet scale problems, correct? As you look at planet scale problems, you have today everything is a math problem, correct? In computing, everything is a mathematical problem. But there are physics problem and chemistry problems and biology, like when you go to natural sciences. Think of a computing subsystem or system which is built on or leverage the property of how the world, we want to always organize our world, but the fact is everything in our substrata is completely what I call organized chaos. Correct? Everything is the whole quantum computing dynamics, the quantum mechanical world which we live in. There's things which we don't know, many things you don't know. I think a quantum computer has an ability to start to help us find those answers. The world is 70% covered with water. We are 70% water as human beings, but we still have a water shortage problem. Like something which we are, but how do you start to look at different ways? So I think materials, correct? Personalized medicine, material sciences, biosynthetics. There's so many things happening. Understanding of physics, understanding of reactions. How do you materials? How do you apply new ways to create sustainable? There's so many aspects. Medicine, correct? Energy, correct? Climate, understanding climate weather. I think that's where I think the future is. That's a quantum is the only technology I think out there in the decade as it matures. There is a potential. It is there to transform lives. I think so. That's where I really give my perspective on this.
That's a very interesting perspective because it's not something technology businesses usually, focus too much on. But I have just one, I'm hoping not a very sensitive question, but UK has been mired in discussions on artificial intelligence regulations.
Yep.
The regulators, the lawmakers, the House of Lords, the House of Commons, all of the houses put together, they're really up and out about it. So as an industry person, as an enterprise industry person who is working out of that geography and US, and I mean, UK and US mostly, how do you think things are going to settle down? In which direction do you think the regulatory framework will come in, will be effective, will be useful, will move forward in the manner in which you were talking about, towards more sustainable technology, or helping the planet and stuff? Do you think it'll happen?
I think I can give you a perspective on what's happening on the UK and also its global perspective. But I think the UK AI Summit was one of the first. I know it was always anything which you do which has governments involved always has people pro it and against it, and people have a neutral view on this. But I think UK, if you go back from a core fundamental research, even a lot of core AI research, whether you see what Google has done, Microsoft, what we are doing as HCL, a lot of core AI research or capability is in around the large institutions which are there in the UK, correct? The academia and other pieces, correct? I think there's a lot of core fundamental research work. I think they managed to get a very different, diverse set of people from various industries, industry captains, academic, regulatory, government, open source and open innovation, and they really figure out what is the right framework or what are the challenges one needs to start to think about. And India is doing that in the same, I think, with the India stack. The government is actually starting to define how the world, every country is trying to look at those aspects. So I think the consumer aspects on AI, I think there will be some level of AI security, AI safety, some level of responsible AI. Things have to be thought about, because many a times, knowingly, unknowingly, there is a lot of data which people are putting it out there, and then the data is being used. So I think there's some level of it's like the way you educate our next generation also needs to change. You have to make them aware of so many other things, not just typical literacy. Don't study languages and basic science. This thing, you need to understand computing, data, You need to have an impact. You need to understand anthropology, a little bit of your understand history. You need to understand a little bit of empathy, maybe some bit of philosophy. Correct? People have to, so I think it's a very important piece for us to see that it's very important because the way this technology is evolving, mm, uh, it's the way I think the same thing around nuclear physics. Correct? You can have extremely the significant world problems, whether it's medicine, whether it's energy, and it can also have weaponization aspects. Similarly, you have the same thing with some of this technology, correct? And I think it's become very important. How do you one has to imagine? I think there's still ways to go. There has to be some level of framework which needs to be developed across various different uh, stakeholder point. But I think it's going to be still the jury's out there. We don't know. I think things will evolve. I think we're going to keep watching this space.
Great. And then thank you so much, KK, for your time. We had a very interesting conversation, not just limited to technology, but also social consciousness, which is a very good change for me because, we just keep discussing solutions and applications and platforms, but nobody talks about what it is doing to the planet or the people. So interesting. Thank you so much for your time. I hope you, were satisfied with the, inputs that you could give, and we didn't miss out on anything that you enjoy talking about.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for having me. I think it was a pleasure talking to you, Kanika.
A pleasure, KK. Thanks.